the new academic session, a new course providing a bachelor's degree in science in aviation with commercial pilot license, with 33 weeks of flying training in the 3rd and 4th semester in Florida, USA. It is our esteemed privilege to have a collaboration with them. During the global pandemic situation, the Assam Royal Global University has been amongst one of the pioneers in extending digital teachings and online education through various digital means, an attempt that owes its success to the unwavering enthusiasm and commitment of the leaders of the organization, along with its academic and non-teaching employees. During this time, the university has been hosting the RGU Speaker Series, which was conducive to the exchange of wholesome ideas and knowledge on a wide range of topics through intellectual online discussions, organizing over 330 webinars till date. So, a lot of us must be aware that 5 Rafales were inducted into the number 17 Golden Arrow Squadron of the Indian Air Force. The theme for today's webinar aims to focus on the operational challenges of the Rafale jets, the induction of which has been a very important step, giving India an added edge over the entire region in terms of security and vigilance. Moving forward with our webinar, I'd like to add that the time slotted for our chief patron and patron in this webinar would be 5 minutes each, and for our esteemed speaker, it would be 20 minutes. Now, I would like to introduce Professor A.K. Buragohai Sir, Chairperson Academics, the Assam Royal Global University. Professor A.K. Buragohai Sir, before joining Royal Global University as the Chairperson Academics in February 2019, was the esteemed Vice Chancellor of the Gogoi University, Assam. He was the founder head of the Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, Tezpur University, and has also served as the Registrar of Tezpur University. Welcome to you, sir. I request you to kindly give us the welcome address and say a few words. So, over to you.
So you have to unmute yourself.
You're muted,
sir. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Parismita, for your kind introduction, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few words before our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor SP Singh, and our chief guest today, the speaker, Air Marshal retired Anjan Gogoi, takes the floor. Undoubtedly, this is a very important topic, very interesting topic, and very relevant topic on which we are going to listen to none other than a person who was there in the very center of those activities when Rafale, the prized addition to the Indian Air Force, had been deliberated upon for induction. I think in part of it, it's a very long run process. I think last so many years it has been going on, and during some part of it, I'm sure Air Marshal Anjan Gogoi was a part of the whole induction program. We'll be very, we are all eagerly waiting for listening to some of the interesting aspects of the induction of the Rafale, not only about the technical aspects, but also about how we are prepared to operationalize this very prized induction of aircrafts, which is one of the latest, in the realm of Air Force, and which is imparting unparalleled supremacy, air supremacy to India. And as the chief, as our defense minister had said, that induction of Rafale is a real game changer in the Indian Air Force. So I welcome Air Marshal Anjan Kumar Gogoi to our campus, and also thank you, Air Marshal Gogoi, for accepting our invitation. And we look forward to a very exciting 1-hour deliberation on the induction of Rafale, one of the star attraction of Indian Air Force today. all its in all its different dimensions. I think we'd be taking up 1 or 2 questions at the end of the session. Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We are fortunate to have amidst us Professor Dr. SP Singh, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Assam Royal Global University. Professor Dr. SP Singh, a stalwart name in the field of academics and administration, needs no introduction. However, for the benefit of all those who are attending the RGU series for the first time, I take this opportunity to introduce sir. Professor Dr. SP Singh has been associated with the Royal Group from its inception in 2009 as the founder director of the institution. He further moved to MIT Education Group in 2013 and joined there as the Senior Vice President Academics. He also served as the founder Vice Chancellor of MIT University Chhattisgarh for almost 2 years before joining the Assam Royal Global University in November 2016 as the founder Vice Chancellor. A geologist, an MBA, and a law graduate with PhD in strategic management, Professor Singh has more than 3 decades of rich experience in teaching, research, academic administration in institutions of repute across the nation. Royal Group has been blessed twice to have been associated with Professor Singh in its journey so far. While serving his second tenure as Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Singh has completed almost 20 years of headship of well-known academic institutions of the country. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. I request you to kindly grace us with few words, sir.
Thank you so much, Parismita.
Thank you, sir.
It was really a very kind and elaborated introduction of mine. Thank you, Air Marshal Anjan Kumar Gogoi Sahab, for gracing today's webinar by your esteemed presence, and we are very, very eager to hear from you because this topic is very, very relevant for all of us, especially when Royal Global University is going to start BSc Aviation and especially with CPL. So we are somehow trying to fly. This Royal Global University was basically an engineering institution, and we have so many other fields. But when this year we have gathered enough courage to make our student fly. So I think that way, probably I can say my heart was always there for flying, though I could not get that chance in my life. But I really wish that my students and my students of Royal Global University not only go for CPL, but many of them will definitely join Air Force and will be flying. Maybe tomorrow they will be flying the aircrafts. Rafale, and I think I'm very sure that some of them will be able to fly Rafale also. Rafale deal, what we I think have seen and we have read in the newspapers and many news channels and country and abroad, the type of information and we gathered. So I'm just not expert in this field, but I was very, very keen to follow a few things. And I was reading the news coming in the newspaper when 16th of October, I think if I'm not wrong, last year when the deal was signed, it was probably an Air Force Day. And when I think the 16th of October this year will be Dashera. So somehow somebody was trying to coincide this Dashera with the deal signed a year back. But I think we got our first, lot of 5 Rafale aircrafts on 29th of July, if I am right. And Mr. Gogoi can definitely correct me if I'm wrong. So on that day, when all those, karma has come from there and the way we were following the whole news channel, it was a great pride moment for we all Indians, especially to me, I would say that. And we were feeling that as if something bigger is coming to give us an umbrella or maybe give us an umbrella of sky, which is safe and secure with the presence of Rafale. So because, we are having so many other versions, varieties of aircraft in our Air Force, starting from MiG to Jaguar to Mirage and many others, right? And then Sukhoi, but then probably it was long due that we were not upgraded ourselves for the new technology, new thing. In the 3 versions of Rafale, I think we are purchasing, if I'm not wrong, 36 Rafales in all. Out of that 36, 26 or maybe 26 or 28 will be single engine or single pilot aircrafts, and 8 will be double pilot or maybe double space aircraft. So those details probably I will listen to Mr. Gogoi, but with the input of I think 60,000 crores or 58,000 some 100 crores involved here, we think, I personally as an Indian think it is negligible amount for the safety and security, the type of threat nowadays we are having with countries around us, China and Pakistan. This is a huge, good investment as far as our security, and there should be no compromise, in my opinion, with respect to security and safety of our nation. But we are very, very eager to know more from Mr. Gogoi, and also once these aircraft have come and other lots will come, how we are going to equip ourselves or maybe strengthen ourselves with respect to its maintenance, its day-to-day requirements, and also training of different people for maintenance and other activities. So this is all what, as a layman, I can speak on this. So I may be excused if you may be expecting more from me, but this is my domain. This is not my domain. I limit myself to whatever information I gathered. I tried to combine that information in some form so that I am able to give a little start to this webinar. But we are all very, very eager to hear from you, my esteemed colleague, Professor Gogoi, and all other eminent faculty members and staff who are attending today's webinar. I think we all are very eager to hear from you, Mr. Gogoi. So thank you so much, Parishmita, for giving me a chance. And I think I have taken exactly the 5 minutes if you count the watch. Thank you so much. And Parishmita, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your words, sir. It gives me immense pleasure now to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Marshal Retired Anjan Kumar Gogoi, sir. Marshal Retired Anjan Kumar Gogoi was born in Dibrugarh and was commissioned in the fighter stream of the Indian Air Force on 2nd of June 1973. Air Marshal Anjan Kumar Gogoi is a recipient of the Param Vishesh Seva Medal, Ati Vishesh Seva Medal, and Vishesh Seva Medal. He has flown over 3,000 hours on various aircraft. He is a qualified flying instructor, a fighter combat leader, and a graduate of Defence Service Staff College, Wellington. Air Marshal A.K. Gogoi has held a variety of operational and staff appointments. His operational assignments include command of a frontline fighter squadron, Chief Operations Officer of an operational base, and command of 2 premier air bases. The staff appointments include tenures as Command Air Defense Officer, Eastern Air Command, Principal Director Operations Offensive and ACAS Operations at Air Headquarters, and Air Defense Commander of Southwestern Air Command. He was Director General Air Operations at Air HQ prior to assuming the post of Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Southwestern Air Command. Air Marshal A.K. Gogoi has also undergone the Air Combat Simulator Instructors course in UK, the Higher Command course at Army War College, and NDC, Executive National Security Program in South Africa. He is an MPhil in Defense and Management Studies from Dave University, Indore. After 40 years of service in the IAF, he retired in 2013 and is now settled at Guwahati. He is presently working as president at Seva, Dibrugarh, an NGO serving the most marginalized communities in Assam. In February 2020, the Air Marshal was nominated as a member of Northeastern Council, NEC, by the President of India. A very warm welcome to you on this webinar, sir. Handing over the screen to you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Professor SP Singh, sir, Professor Gogoi, members of the faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I must thank the Vice Chancellor and the Chairperson Academics for having invited me for this webinar. And I think it is a very current topic that we need to discuss. Induction of the Rafale aircraft into the Indian Air Force and operationalization of the aircraft. The media, like the Vice Chancellor mentioned, went, I think, overboard, if I may say so, as far as the induction ceremony last Friday was concerned. Historic event, game changer, and whatnot. In addition, of course, the ceremony was attended by the Honorable Raksha Mantri, as well as the Armed Forces Minister, the Defense Minister of France, Ms. Florence Parly. Historic, is it? Game changer, will it be? Are questions that are uppermost in the minds of all Indians. So if it is historic, I think we need to look back at history. When our country became independent in 1947, the Indian Air Force was split into the Indian Air Force and the Pakistani Air Force. So in our share, we got 6.5 fighter squadrons of vintage aircraft left over from the Second World War. And I must say, to the credit of the founding fathers of the Air Force, as well as the country, they took charge and advanced the cause of air power in the Air Force. If you look at the inductions that happened in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, you will see that at the time of independence, we didn't have a jet aircraft, fighter aircraft in our inventory. The first jet fighter aircraft inducted in 1950, the Vampire. I was fortunate to fly that aircraft, though as a training aircraft. And to tell you the truth, if you look back at aviation history, in 1950, it was just 46 years old. Because the first manned, powered, heavier-than-air aircraft took to the skies in Kitty Hawk in 1904. So it was not a very long journey, and we had already reached jet age. So the Vampire was inducted, and every 10 years, in the 50s, we got the Vampire, we got the Tufani, we got the Mystere, we got the Nat in 1958. In the next 10 years, in the 60s, we got the Hunter, we got the MiG-21, a very renowned aircraft, blacklisted by a lot of people, but a fantastic aircraft. We got the Sukhoi 7 in the 60s. Then there was the war in 71. And with these resources, the Indian Air Force fought 4 wars, 48, 62, 65, and 71. In 1971 was the first acquisition of a major type, the Jaguar, the deep penetration strike aircraft. So I'm describing you every decade. Then in 80s, we got the MiG-23, the MiG-25, the MiG-27, and in 85, we inducted the Mirage 2000. Of Kargil war fame, as well as the Balakot strike. So what I'm trying to indicate is that every 10 years we have been getting aircraft, and in the 90s we got the Sukhoi 30. Unfortunately, due to reasons beyond anybody's control, for the last 20 years or more, we have not inducted an aircraft. Therefore, the Indian Air Force assets continue to dwindle, And from an authorized strength of 42 squadrons, we reached below 30. Today, with the induction of the Rafale and the Tejas, we are somewhere at 31 squadrons. Therefore, I think the induction of the Rafale is no doubt historic. I leave it at that. We could discuss it further. But is it going to be a game changer? That is the big question. Now that the aircraft has been inducted, I think the big challenge for the Air Force is to operationalize it as quickly as possible, which I am sure they will do, and utilize it in a manner that it proves its potential and the nation is proud of it. So the game changer bit is now on the lap of the Indian Air Force. Before I go any further, I would just like to mention that whatever I say today are my personal views. Because like Professor Buragovai mentioned, I was definitely involved in the process of selecting the aircraft to a small extent. But I was there at Air Headquarters to see for myself that the whole process was put in place and we got what we wanted. So what I'm going to say is basically not the view of the Air Force. It is not the view of the government. It is my own view. So you take it for whatever it is worth and make your own opinion. See, the induction of the aircraft has materialized after a lot of struggle. The Indian Air Force projected the requirement for 126 MMRCA. I don't want to leave you with jargons, basically medium multi-role combat aircraft. Due to whatever reasons, the government decided to reduce the number to 36. And therefore, we have now contracted for 36 aircraft. So this will form 2 squadrons. You're aware that the Golden Arrows 17 squadron has been formed in Ambala. The other squadron is going to form at a later part of time at Hashimara. And for people from the Northeast, I'm sure you would be aware that Hashimara is in North Bengal, in between Siliguri and Guwahati. And of course, it will look after the eastern sector. We have 5 aircraft presently. 4 more are going to join next month and slowly build up. But are 5-10 aircraft going to change the equation as far as the scenario is concerned? And with things as they are with our northern as well as the western neighbors, I think we'll have to be conservative in understanding that how we utilize this aircraft will be important, which I'll come to slightly later. It is not possible for me to tell you everything about the aircraft, but I think I will flag certain important issues so that you understand the dynamics as far as the Rafale is concerned. The Rafale is basically a multi-role, and now some people call it an omni-role aircraft. It has the capability to do air-to-air combat, air-to-ground engagements. It has a surveillance system. It has an ECM and ECCM electronic countermeasure and countermeasure package. So it is a huge system-oriented aircraft. But I must tell you, the process that we went through as an Air Force to choose the Rafale, because that has not been discussed in public domain, and I think it's worth understanding how we went about it. When the request for proposal, that is the RFP, was issued, and it was a global tender for the 126 MMRCA aircraft, a lot of countries, a lot of big companies applied for it. The 6 major aircraft that came up, and the Indian Air Force evaluated them, were from the US, the F-16 and the F-18 Hornet. From the European Union was the Eurofighter, Typhoon. From the Russian camp was the MiG-35. We had the Rafale from France, and we had the Gripen from Sweden. Having all these aircraft which are comparable, it was a difficult task for the Air Force to choose. What we must understand that the Indian Air Force has a system in which there is a branch under as Air Marshal, a 3-star officer in Air Headquarters, which looks after plans and procurements. So under the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, a team was formed of test pilots, technical experts, logisticians, and a whole lot of other people to do the assessment of all these aircraft. And this process really took time. And I mind you, there were pressures, because the sum of money involved was so large. Every company would like to project itself. So there was a process that the Indian Air Force put together. I think it was a fantastic professional approach that we took. We did normal assessments, we did high altitude, low temperature, high temperature operation, desert operations, snow operations, ill operations, you name it. We went through the process on each aircraft. And to tell you the truth, this team was locked up in Air Headquarters for 3 months with no contact with nobody, so that they were not being influenced by anybody external. And the team came to a conclusion. They chose the Rafale for whatever reason. And this report was projected to the Ministry of Defense, the Government of India. They supported the Air Force. And I am happy that throughout all this process, there has not been any acquisition about the selection method and the selection of the aircraft. There are other controversies and things like that, but nobody has challenged the professional way the Air Force went through and selected an aircraft. I'm happy today to say that this process, in fact, I recommend it, should be patented so that we go for future acquisitions in a similar manner. It is also a happy occasion for me because the Air Force has got what it wanted. And now the responsibility of proving the machine, proving that we were right in selecting this aircraft is on the Air Force. It's a huge responsibility, and I think the Air Force will live up to it. Having said that, once a country invests 59,000 crores on a project, it is the biggest defense deal till today. I think the country definitely expects it to produce results. So if you put it in context, you know, what is 59,000 crores? In this year's budget, 2020, the total allocation by the central government to all the 8 northeastern states is around 52,000 crores. So one deal, 59,000 crores, more than the 8 states are getting from the center for developmental projects, is what the Air Force has got. So I just wanted to put you in perspective of what this deal means for the country, means for the Air Force. In addition to this, I must say that I have a different understanding of this induction. You know, all of you know, most of you could have watched the induction ceremony and the whole lot, the aerobatics and the helicopters doing their part. But I think, to my mind, presence of the French defense minister was very significant. If you look at the geopolitical situation at the moment, see what is happening in Eastern Ladakh sector. The presence of the defense minister of a country which is part of the P5, the permanent members of the Security Council, the 5 members being US, UK, Russia, China, and France. Border with India, China, and the French defense minister is here in our country. I think we should take note of that more than anything else. And I think the northern neighbors, the Chinese, would have taken note of that more than the induction of Rafale, to my mind. I may be wrong, but it was a very, very significant step by the French government, and the induction of the Rafale will obviously have that importance now. It's not the first aircraft that we have bought from France. That is another thing I think a lot of people don't know. In the early 50s, we acquired the Tufani from the same company, Dassault. It is spelled D-A-S-S-A-L-A-U-T, Dassault, but pronounced as Dassault, like for normal French pronunciation. We got the Tufani, we got the Mistia, we got the Mirage 2000 from them, and this is the 4th French aircraft that we have inducted. But another significant point that I want to flag is that till today, we have not inducted an American aircraft. It talks a lot about our selection process, the pressures that we went through, and we identified an aircraft that we want. I think the clinching factor as far as the Rafale went, to my mind, was something new the Air Force introduced in selection of this aircraft, and that is life cycle cost. You may get an aircraft which is comparatively cheap, but during the life period of the aircraft of 20, 30 years, the cost becomes much, much more exorbitant. Just to give you an example, most Russian aircraft engine life is 500 hours. After 5 hours, it goes for an overhaul. It does an overhaul, comes back. Life is reduced to 400 hours. Does 400 hours, goes back for overhaul, comes back, 300 hours, 200 hours, and then it's gone. But most Western aircraft, the first major overhaul of the engine starts at 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000. So you see that the cost of maintaining and utilizing that aircraft just by what you call a small component of the, not a small component, but a component of the aircraft, an engine, the life cycle cost increases. Next is the serviceability and availability and maintainability of the aircraft. All of you would have heard about MTBFs, MTTRs, mean time between failures, mean time to repairs, and all that. These servicing schedules. Aircraft of the MiG-21 category, the second generation, third generation, the Jaguar, the cycle goes like this. You fly 25 hours, do an inspection, the aircraft is down for a day, comes up, you fly for another 25 hours and do a 50 hours inspection, the aircraft is down for 3 days. Then you fly another 25 hours, do a 25 hour, aircraft is down for 1 day, and you reach 100 hours, and the aircraft goes in for 100-hour servicing, goes in for 7 to 10 days. Therefore, the availability of the aircraft to you for operational utilization becomes less. In this contract, it is imperative on the manufacturer to give you a serviceability of 75%. The average serviceability of the Indian Air Force fleets over the years, if you take, is between 55, 60, we go to 65. So if you have 100 aircraft and you increase the serviceability by 10%, you have 10 extra aircraft. Nearly a squadron of aircraft is extra. So in that sense, this is going to be a game changer. Then the type of servicings that you do and the time that is utilized to do the servicing because of the complexity of an aircraft. Today, the concept of aircraft is all modular, and therefore it is plug in, plug out. And therefore, the time taken and the amount of time the aircraft is on the ground is less. So availability is more. And once the manufacturer guarantees you 75% serviceability or availability, it is going to be really good. But again, you have to look at serviceability in various forms. You see, the aircraft may be serviceable. It may be able to take off and land, but its weapon system, the weapon computer is down. This aircraft is not available to me for operational use. So it is of no use to me. So this has been put in the contract, and we have an availability of 75%, which is fantastic. And I hope we will be able to achieve this in this aircraft. So, like I mentioned, this aircraft has come in a form of a package. Previously, what happened in procurements was you got the aircraft, then you decided, okay, I want this missile on it, I want that radar on it, radar, of course, part of the aircraft, sorry. I want that ECCM system, that surveillance system, and then you integrate it. But here we went for a package, and therefore the cost is slightly higher. Just to give you a broad, understanding of the weapons that this aircraft will bring in with it is, first of all, in the air-to-air mode, when you engage an enemy fighter in the air, you have the Mika missile. The Mika missile is basically a medium-range missile, which is of latest technology, but it is a beyond visual range missile. But the Meteor missile, Mika is a slightly shorter range, about 60 to 70 kilometers. The Meteor missile, cost of single missile, 20 crores. Range is 150 kilometers. In addition to that, you have the gun and you have the other rockets and bombs. But the other major weapon that this aircraft will carry is the Scalp. The Scalp cruise missile. This missile will have a range of excess of 300 kilometers, right up to 500 kilometers. So you see, it is as far as the performance and capability is concerned, there is nothing wrong in saying that it is going to be a game changer. I have talked about life cycle. Oh yeah, it also comes with a simulator package. Today, the type of simulators that you have are very realistic. In fact, in the civil aviation, you have simulators which is zero time. That means you don't have to fly an actual aircraft. You fly the simulator and you are able to fly the aircraft. Is that real? In fighters, it may not be possible to make it zero time, but it does give you a lot of skill and proficiency because the simulator is available to you 24/7. Provided it's, of course, serviceable. And then you can do it by night, you can do it by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't make a difference. The simulator is available to young pilots, can use it extensively, record their sorties, play it back, understand the mistakes. So it has got a tremendous advantage. And I would say that the type of simulators that the Western world produces is of a very high quality, and the Russian equipment is not that good. I would put it at that, and therefore the simulator is going to help in operationalizing this aircraft without wasting, I would say, aircraft hours. In the civil aviation, you get your instrument rating on the simulator. You don't have to fly an actual aircraft to get your currency back, things like that. So something similar could happen depending on the type and quality of the simulator, in fact, for the Rafale. I think I have given you a broad overview of what is coming in this package, and I think now I should move, because my time is going to be up, to what type of training that would be required and what type of operationalization that requires to be done. You see, pilot training in the Indian Air Force is unique. You must understand how a young pilot, young student from any college or university applies for the Air Force flying branch and gets into the Air Force and becomes a pilot. He goes for the Services Selection Board, and he has to go through a test called the Pilot Aptitude Battery Test. Today, I think it's got a different name because the whole thing has become computerized. I think it's called Computerized Pilot Selection System or something like that. PSS, CPSS, yeah. So he has to go through this. It is a very simple, all of us have gone through it. It just checks your psychomotor skills, and that you have the ability to, you'll be able to fly. It assesses that. But the thing is that if you do not pass the test, you will never become a pilot in the Indian Air Force. Fighters, helicopters, transport doesn't make a difference. You will not become. You may become an astronaut, but you will not become a pilot in the Indian Air Force. So you have to go through that. And then you join the academy and then start your flying career, training. You fly simple aircraft. Today it is the pilotus, a turboprop aircraft. Move on to jets for the guys who are going to fighters. And for the rest of the guys, they move into the helicopter stream or the transport aircraft stream. So the fighter guys will fly the Hawk. And in 1 year, 6 months of pilotus, 6 months of Hawk, you get your wings, you get your commission, start earning your pay. Before you earn a stipend of about, I think, 30,000 rupees a month as a cadet, and then join the Air Force. After you finish the Hawk, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but you have another 5 minutes left.
Okay. So, and then you become a pilot, go into the operational squadron. So, for the Rafale, obviously a team has been selected to what you call man the initial lot, a core group who have been trained in France. Now they will come back. They would have come back and they will train the local guys locally here and take this forward as far as training on the aircraft is concerned. As far as operationalizing this aircraft is concerned, we have to understand that no single aircraft will operate individually. Whatever the mission is, there will be a package. Meaning, if you are going to neutralize, let us say, a bridge or a dam or whatever it is, a target, so there will be a strike package. And to ensure that the strike package goes through completely without interference from enemy aircraft, you will be escorted by air defense aircraft like the Rafale with long-range weapons so that nobody interferes with the strike package. You will have a ECM and ECCM package. You will have air-to-air refuelers. You will have the AVACs. You will have UAVs in around so that they could be also engaging different targets. So it's a whole gamut of aircraft which, so the Rafale will have to fit into this slot. And therefore, it will take some time for the Rafale to get into this whole scenario because there will be radar controllers, aircraft, ground-based radars, AVACs, which is airborne, and things like that. Also, I would say that as far as the Rafale is concerned, because we have had similar aircraft participating in this type of packages, it will be easier, and the pilots who are going to man the Rafale are senior enough to understand this whole gamut and be able to operationalize it. The weapons are quite accurate, and therefore neutralizing targets will be that much simpler. And I would say that seeing the scenario in the northern areas now, utilization of air power assets, which we did not do in 1962, is going to be a game changer. I think I have given you a certain amount of information as far as operationalization is concerned. Should there be any additional questions, I'll try and clarify them. So I end by saying that it is historic and it is likely to be a game changer. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for providing us with the insight behind the procurement of Rafale. We had no idea, and we did not know about all of it. And we certainly hope that it will be the game changer that is being promised to be. Sir, I have a question here. So, how will the induction of Rafale into IAF's arsenal ensure territorial integrity of our country? What with the escalating India-China border clashes? Sir, any views on your part?
How will it help in
in territorial integrity? Yes,
territorial integrity is the responsibility of the armed forces. But as far as the Air Force is concerned, I must tell you that the responsibility of air defense means defense of the Indian airspace from any aerial attack by aircraft, UAVs, helicopters, missiles is the sole responsibility of the Indian Air Force. And therefore, I think the Rafale is definitely well equipped to undertake this task. And also, I want to explain to everybody that this task of air defense is not only in wartime, it is also in peacetime, meaning it is a 24/7 job, 7 days a week, 365 days. The air defense of the country is always active. This is a 24/7 job, and the Rafale with additional capabilities will be able to, of course, maintain the integrity of the airspace. As far as the ground situation is concerned, it will help the army in different missions and different tasks. And I'm sure the territorial integrity and the air defense integrity of the country will be maintained.
Thank you so much, sir. So you've already spoken about it, but I'd also just like to know a little more about how different will be the experience of flying the Rafale from the other jets for our fighter pilots.
See, flying a fourth plus gen, 4.5 gen aircraft is going to be a tough job. You know, pure flying, that means just take off and land, is the easiest part of the exercise as far as a military aviator is concerned. It is the utilization of the systems on board, which is a huge task. In addition to flying the aircraft, it's a single man in the cockpit. He does everything. He has to navigate, he has to know where he is, he has to encounter weather, he has to manage the weapon system, he has to manage this ECCM systems. So it is a huge task, and therefore most air forces are going for a twin pilot configuration, like the Su-30 is a twin pilot. There's a pilot and there's a weapon system operator. So flying the Rafale by a single pilot is going to be a really, really hard task, and people have to really train for it.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we have another question from Dhiraj Borkotoki. He wants to know, so how long a country like India needs to depend on other countries for its defense needs? When can we make our own fighter crafts and other such things?
It's a very good question. I think the whole country would ask, in addition to Dhiraj Kakoti, this question needs to be answered. The Tejas has been inducted. The Tejas, the LCA, was supposed to replace the MiG-21 some 10, 15 years back. But it has come presently with hiccups. We still don't have an engine for it. See, the engine is a different technology. It's a different... There are very few countries in the world which manufacture fighter engines. This Chinese are boasting of, the JF-17 and a whole lot of aircraft. All the engines are from Russia, because the metallurgy is a different ball game. Our Kaveri engine is now coming to fruition, and we are learning the metallurgy. So making an aircraft today all by yourself is not an easy task. So many countries, the smaller countries, are going for what you call them, bilateral or trilateral, or maybe you take the Eurofighter. It is not a single country. There are 5, 6 countries involved in making that aircraft, because these systems are so complex, and the investment required is so high. What you call the weapon attack system, the gyros, the ring laser gyros. Only 3 countries in the world make it. There's no way anybody else can make it, because that same ring laser gyros are used for your Mars missions, because it has to give you direction. So making an aircraft is not a simple task, but other things, of course, we can. A fighter aircraft is. By the way, we made a lot of aircraft ourselves. I didn't mention that in the 60s we inducted the Indian-made HF-24, the Maruts. 150 of them we produced. We flew them, and it was used in war. So it is not that we have not made aircraft, but again, the engine came from somewhere else. The radar came from somewhere else. We still don't have a radar for the LCA, for the Tejas. So it is going to take some time. Anything else?
Parishmita?
Sorry, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. So we have another question, actually. So, sir, is Rafale better than J-20 and other Chinese aircraft? Sir, we have another questions in the chat.
Question.
Yeah, I think I mentioned, the JF-17 or the J-20 is a Chinese version that the Pakistanis have it. I mean, anybody can claim anything. They are claiming that their air-to-air missile is better than the Meteor. I have my doubts. I have my serious doubts. Like I told you, all the Chinese aircraft are with Russian engines. So a moment that tap is off, all their aircraft are on the ground. So what I'm saying is the Rafale is one of the important reasons why we got the Rafale is also this, that everything is French. There is nothing from any other country. So if it is one-to-one, government to government. So I think the Rafale is way, way beyond anything that the Chinese and the parties have in their inventory.
So we have another last question. So
Okay.
what will be, so this one is the last one that we'll be taking. So what will be the life of this fighter?
The life of the fighter? Yeah. See, generally Western aircraft, there are two things. There is engine life and there is airframe life. Normally, you run out of the engine life because that is much shorter and you cannot keep producing the same engine for so long. So I would say around 30 years is definitely there. You see the Mirage 2000, it came in 1985. 35 years already done, but it has gone through a midlife upgrade. Yeah. So it has gone through a midlife upgrade. So you can upgrade because the airframe life is available to you. So the systems will get outdated, will get wear and tear. So you could upgrade the aircraft and utilize it. The airframe life is quite long.
All right. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being with us today. We have come to the end of the webinar and it has been quite an insightful webinar, I must say. So thank you for joining us and we hope we will have more collaborations with you in future, sir.
Thank you.
I also extend my heartiest thank you to our Chairperson Academics, A.K. Gogoi sir, and our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and also the entire IT team for their support. And lastly, I'd like to thank all the participants for being a part of today's webinar. Thank you all. Stay safe and goodbye. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Air Marshal Gogoi Saab, for giving your valuable time. I really have learned a lot today. Thank you so much. Really very interesting. Very, very interesting and new things have come to my mind today, sir. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, VC, sir, for joining us today.